Hi, this is Mike Goldenberg. I'm here with Abzan Company, a slightly grindier version than the typical full combo deck. You notice I only have 2 Duskwatch recruiters. I'm doing a friendly league, so let's see how it goes. Love to play first. So I have mana acceleration, little protection, no combo pieces here. But I think I'll keep this. My play will be turn 1 Noble Hierarch of the Forest. So what I'd love to draw in this hand is Collected Company, Quarter Calling, Renegade Rallier, Kitchen Finks, any of those powerful cards. What I'd hate to draw with this hand is more land and more mana dorks. Sure. So I'm probably losing the Viscera Seer. It's the most powerful card in my hand. Safi's a enabler with Renegade Rallier and Viscera Seer to kind of make infinite loops. Oh, my opponent took Safi. It's interesting. In the face of spot removal, one of my favorite cards to have on the board is a Viscera Seer. It turns all my opponent's lightning bolts into free scries for me. So I top decked a Kitchen Finks, which would have been what my opponent took, so I will just go ahead and play that. Against any blue-black sort of deck with Fatal Push, Kitchen Finks is phenomenal. My opponent is probably on some sort of Death Shadow variant, probably Grixis Death Shadow. They had no problem turn 1 lava axing themselves down to 15, and they're on Street Wraith. Okay, so this is Grixis Death Shadow, maybe just a blue-black variant that's popped up a little bit on the MTGO queues. I'm not a really big fan of the blue-black variant. It's missing the payoff cards in Temur Battle Rage. For example, without Temur Battle Rage, the blue-black deck, I can just jump block that all day long with Mana Dorks, Kitchen Finks, and other cards. But Temur Battle Rage lets them race me and lets them ultimately get through. I'm not saying my opponent's on the blue-black version. I'm just talking about that deck real quick while waiting for my opponent to make a decision on what they're doing. Looks like they are stuck on probably 1 land. They were probably trying to Thought Scour into another, and they got it. So what I don't want to see is a Gurmag Angler right now. Looks like it's what we're about to, though. Yep. So I got a basic swamp. I'll play Renegade Rallier, buy back the Safi, and play my Viscera Seer. So now something I can do with Safi that I couldn't do with, say, Selfless Spirit, which is oftentimes in that slot, is I can fully go all the way, kill my Kitchen Finks, rebuy it with the Safi, and then gain more life. It's a way to... Against Burn, I was able to gain 8 life in one little quick go-around to win a game. Safi's also obviously a combat... she's able to protect different things. Okay, so he's killing my Safi. In response, I think the best thing for me to do is target Renegade Rallier, and then sacrifice the Renegade Rallier and rebuy Safi. So what Safi does is when one of my creatures dies, or is put into a graveyard, so dies, that turn I'm able to bring it back to the battlefield. And the target right now is Renegade Rallier. What my opponent should have done is bolted the Viscerous here, which enables that combo, but in response I still could have just sacrificed Safi to bring back Viscerous here, but that would have, if they'd done that, potentially stranded me. They clearly didn't understand the interaction I have here and made a mistake. So if they attack, I can just block with Renegade Rallier and get a free block out of it. Instead, I'm choosing to get a free scry, which I desperately need because I have plenty of mana and nothing to do with it. Walking Ballista is interesting because I can play Walking Ballista for x equals 2 and then have my opponent on a 4-turn clock. I don't love that, so I will put it at the bottom. Oh, make sure I do this correctly. Eternal Witness does not buy back anything I want. Oh. This combo is a little annoying online. I'll get it right one of these times. Don't want to vote a druid. What I really want is either a Collected Company or a Vizier. Quarter Calling works. I assume my opponent has some sort of removal spell in hand, probably a Stubborn Denial, but I gotta try to chord when I can. I got it. Okay. So now I have infinite mana. And infinite scry. And this ability is a little bit faster than the other one. Actually, I don't want that. Okay, so my opponent conceded to infinite life. What I was going to score to the top was a collected company. I still hadn't won the game yet, despite the fact that I had a lot of life. Cards that come in. Voice of Resurgence. Abrupt Decay is not great, but I do love Path here as a way to interact. What they're probably going to bring in, seeing that interaction, they didn't see Devoted Druid, but they can assume that I had it thanks to the Vizier. They're probably going to bring in Graveyard Hate, because I made an infinite loop with my graveyard with 2 different creatures, which was probably very frustrating for them. I do like Sin Collector in these type of matchups as a way to strip their hand a little bit of removal spells and kind of check to see if the coast is clear. Anafen's is too small for this matchup. She does make my Birds of Paradise into potentially lethal threats, which I like, but Gavney Township does the same thing and is a main board card. Qasali Pride Mage is a possibility simply because if they bring in Grafdigger's Cage, which hurts their own Snapcast for mages, but also shuts down a lot of my combo, that's an out to it. That isn't Abrupt Decay. Abrupt Decay only hits in their deck really Death Shadow, because I don't care about the 2-1 body of Snap, so I'm not worried about that. Cards I could also bring in are Tireless Tracker, Scavenging Ooze. Shalai is interesting because that does protect a lot of my other cards. Cards I don't like, I actually am going to trim part of the combo here. I love the Voice of Resurgence against my opponent here. It's a fantastic blocker, and it gives me potentially ways to just win if they get too aggressive with attacking and utilizing things on my turn. So I'm actually going to cut a couple Vizier, a Devoted Druid. Duskwatch is still okay because he's still able to get me draw cards if I have plenty of mana. Safi is fantastic, protecting the one piece that I may need. I do want to trim a couple chords against a deck with Stubborn Denial. Chord of Calling just seems like a poor choice. I do want to bring in Tracker, so I think I'll actually do something like this. So Voice of Resurgence is kind of taking the place of some of my combo pieces. I still have the combo in here. Devoted Druid is a magnet for attention, and Vizier can just win me games with Kitchen Finks, as you just saw. I do like the Voice, I do like the Tracker. The Path is just to hit their threats that can try to race me, so I'll go with this. A lot of Abzan Company players that I've been noticing, they take out the entire combo, and I'm not sure that's correct. I think having some of the combo almost all the time is always correct in a collected company deck. This hand doesn't really do anything. And if they turn 1 Thoughtseize me and take the Viscera Seer, I'm left with nothing. I don't really want to mulligan there, but my hand just didn't do anything. And this hand is a lot better. Still doesn't do what I want it to do, but turn 1 Viscera Seer, turn 2 nothing. Turn 3 I can do Sin Collector, Tracker, or Kitchen Finks, because I have plenty of land. I'm expecting a Thoughtseize or an Inquisition here. Okay, neither. The reason I kept Kitchen Finks on top is I think Kitchen Finks is a phenomenal card in this matchup. Just plowing, it's a blocker that gains me 4 life and blocks twice. What I'm debating right now is, do I fetch a basic swamp or an overgrown tomb? I kept 1 Scavenging Ooze in the side, so there's 1 main, 1 side, so extra green mana isn't as beneficial. I think I'll preserve my life total and get the basic. Turn 1 Viscera Seer is one of my favorite opens against interactive decks, because the ability just to turn all of my extra creatures that I don't need into free scries is absolutely wonderful. Another Sin Collector. I really want to turn 2 play, so I'll put that in the bottom. I don't want to do... I really, really want to avoid doing nothing on my second turn. Even playing a bird is better than just passing and doing nothing, in my opinion. Because now I have extra mana with Tireless Tracker. Now I could have played and shocked the Temple Garden and then at the fetch land for the Tireless Tracker next turn. But I'm not even sure I'm playing Tracker next turn. It really depends what my opponent's doing. My current plan is to play Sin Collector. Although functionally, I suppose, Sin Collector and Tireless Tracker kind of do the same thing and clear my opponent of some extra lightning bolts. Okay, so they're bolting my bird, so I don't have the opportunity to play Tracker with a land. So Anger of the Gods would be pretty rough with that Kitchen Finks in my hand, so I'll take that. I don't really care about the looting, and I can't really do anything about the double Death Shadow. Okay, Mishra's Bauble, which is one of my favorite cards. So my current plan is Tireless Tracker into the forest, just to get a clue. If my opponent has an Inquisition, I'm not sure which they value more, me starting to get card advantage, or the Kitchen Finks, which is also card advantage. Kitchen Finks is a wonderful card in this matchup. I really can't stress that enough. One of the biggest draws to what started me building this deck, which is again a very different version from the typical all-in combo. I have Renegade Rallier instead of maxing out an Eternal Witness. I have Voice of Resurgence in the main. This build is designed to be able to get as many 2-for-1s as possible. So main board, it's supposed to be much better. That's the intent. That's what I've seen so far in my testing. Main board is supposed to be much better against interactive decks because I don't just need the combo to win. My opponent's going to play a Death Shadow, so I'll block. What I noticed when I was watching Plagen, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce his name, what I noticed when I was watching him play the deck a lot was he sided out the combo almost every match. And yes, your opponent doesn't know that. Sure, drew out a lightning bolt. Yes, your opponent does not know that, but at the same time, if you're siding out if the combo is that bad in so many matchups, then why not be a little bit pre-boarded for those matchups anyway? And that's what I kind of built here. I cut down the Duskwatch Recruiter, which I think is a great card, but it's mostly a combo enabler. If it was a 2-3, I think I'd be more comfortable running it. But 2 for a 2/2, Scavenging Ooze is just generally a better bear. So I made this deck to be a little bit pre-boarded against a lot of the decks that we were seeing in all these interactive decks. Let's see. So I can play both cards. I think that's what I want to do. My other option was crack a clue, see what I get, maybe dig me a little bit closer to a collected company. Not in a good spot here. My opponent has another threat in hand. And I really have no answers for these other than maybe top decking a path. Collected Company is my best possible draw. Collected Company into, well, if I could dream, it'd be Viscera Seer and Vizier. Then I just get as much life as I want and put a Collected Company on top of my deck. My opponent scries 2 to the bottom, so they're probably looking for a little bit of interaction. This is 9 damage. If my opponent has TBR, this would be 14. The 1 card left in their hand is Death Shadow. I'm not going to block. So, oh, actually, maybe they discarded that to the looting. So they have 1 card left in their hand. I think it's just best if I just collect a company now and try to hope to hit the combo. I didn't, but I did hit some value. It's always a weird spot when you're wondering if you want to put your Ballista in the graveyard. Then you can try to Eternal Witness it back. The reason I did the Collected Company pre-combat was if I drew a couple Noble Hierarchs, and those are my only options, then I'd be able to do a little bit with that. I don't mind growing my opponent's Death Shadow. With my life total the way it is, I'm kind of forced to block anyway. My plan is to block with Kitchen Finks and Qasali Pride Mage. I want 1 Kitchen Finks, which doesn't have any counters on it, in case I end up drawing another Collected Company and get the Viscera Seer and Vizier combo. So I will eat this Faithless Looting. My opponent was digging for answers with the Scry 2 to the bottom, and that can limit their options there. Okay, so they have a snap. Snap push is what they're planning on doing. Not too worried about that. If they hit the Scavenging Ooze, well, he already did his job and eat the Faithless Looting and a removal spell. My plan here is to double block the Gurmag Angler. That would kill me, so I can't do that. They're only attacking with the Death Shadow. If the card in their hand is a Lightning Bolt or a Street Wraith, I would die. So I do have to block. That's kind of what the second Kitchen Finks was for. I don't mind him getting the -1/-1 counter on him, because he's kind of there to block. Okay, so I have Vizier. My opponent has 1 card in hand. I could play the Devoted Druid and go from there, but I really don't think I'm going to get infinite mana. And even if I did with an empty hand, it wouldn't really win me the game. I'd rather have my Kitchen Finks right in the middle there, never be able to get a counter on it, unless my opponent has a Bolt for the Vizier. Okay, or Dismember. I mean, I guess that works too. Don't care about Qasali Pride Mage. So a Voice of Resurgence is going to buy me all the blockers I need in the world. The reason I didn't block with Kitchen Finks was in case I draw a Gavany Township. I'd rather be able to reset the Kitchen Finks, try to keep my top decks a little bit more live. So my opponent's attacking. I have to choose between the Devoted Druid or the Voice of Resurgence. I don't actually think Devoted Druid is great in this spot, so I'll just block right there. The Voice of Resurgence, however, keeps my opponent from casting removal spells on my turn. I'm keeping the Misty Rainforest in my hand. I'm pretending like I have a Collected Company here, which could make my opponent use a discard spell, or could make my opponent, if they choose to do Culligan's Command, I can discard the land instead of whatever my next top deck is. It's also better with Tireless Tracker if I end up drawing another one of those. And I don't need any more mana at the moment. The only way I could be punished is if I happen to draw a Gavany Township, and even then I still have plenty of mana to activate. So I'm not drawing particularly well right now. My opponent's doing a good job of just slowly accumulating advantage while forcing me to chump block every single turn. Luckily, between Kitchen Finks and Voice of Resurgence, I've had plenty of chump blockers. Okay, well that certainly hurts, killing the Kitchen Finks. That is a wonderful draw. Assuming my opponent doesn't have a counter spell in hand, I can kill the Death Shadow next turn. And I attack with it and buy me an extra turn. An alternative was I could kill the Gurmag Angler and then try to start beating it with Kitchen Finks, but they have the Snapcaster Mage as a blocker there, and they'd just gladly take that, reset my Finks, and then kill it with the Last Hope. And I really like my Kitchen Finks. I don't want it to die. You can tell I'm still hanging on to that Misty Rainforest, just in case I draw the Tireless Tracker or in case my opponent casts Culligan's Command and tries to get me to discard a card. Although honestly, Culligan's Command, bringing back their Death Shadow, is probably a better line for them anyway. Not in a good spot. Chump blocking the way I had kind of forces me to draw into a Collected Company. It's really one of my only outs. A good Collected Company, so I think I'm heavily unfavored to win this game. It's possible I should have just let myself get chumped, let myself take the damage, and maybe be at like 3 or 4 life right now, but I have a few more creatures in the battlefield. I just don't like doing that against Lightning Bolt Snapcaster decks. Also, I don't like doing that against Temur Battle Rage decks. I will take the 5 here. I feel like my opponent is dead to me drawing another removal spell. There's only one path left in the deck, so Eternal Witness would be a wonderful draw for me if they don't play another threat. What they're probably going to do is Liliana minus, buy back a Gurmag Angler or a Death Shadow, or just play a Gurmag from their hand. That works too. So I can rebuy Voice of Resurgence, or Scavenging Ooze. Scavenging Ooze has a ton of targets, so I actually prefer that with their board state right now with the 2 Gurmag Anglers, and I can stop them from bringing back that Death Shadow. I have to be aware of my opponent having Snapcaster Mage with that bolt still in their yard. Bolting my Kitchen Finks be pretty evil at the moment. And I also have to be wary of my opponent ultimating Liliana, which if I were them, that's probably their best hope of winning at the moment. 5, 3 cards in hand. If I double block, Gurmag Angler dies. I think I'm going to double block, even though that means Kitchen Finks is not going to be a combo piece for me. I think I'm just in a bad spot. I really need to clear their board. They're more interested in killing the Rallier, which is interesting. I will hold up 1, just in case they try to Lightning Bolt. So, my opponent's at 3 life. I assume they have a Snapcaster in their hand. I just had a really, really good draw. I need 4 mana to do this, so I only have available 3 mana for Scoos. So I will start eating a couple creatures. I can never get back Renegade Rallier except with Eternal Witness. I don't have any desire to bring back a Sin Collector. If I attack, my opponent can kill the Finks, and then I can have it reset. They can block there. Snap to Scoos and Gurmag to Finks. Finks would reset. I'd go up to 14 life. My opponent would be able to untap, kill the Kitchen Finks with the Liliana. I think I need to wait 1 more turn, as much as I don't like that. There's really no reason for me to wait to doing this that I can think of. Resetting Finks now I think is important. Sure. They will block here, and Kitchen Finks will be blocked by the Gurmag Angler. So Kitchen Finks will die. I'll reset Kitchen Finks and kill their Snapcaster. I'm still at 12 life, so I'm feeling pretty safe, even though they do have 3 cards in their hand. Yep. Finks dies, I'll reset him. I know they have the Liliana Ultimate, but I don't mind that as much because I have this Birds of Paradise in play, which is a win condition with Gavney Township in and of itself. I'm kind of forcing them to minus the Birds of Paradise just so I don't kill them in the air. Sure. End of turn, I will be eating one creature from my deck, and keeping that one green mana up to stop Snapcaster Mage. I don't want to get punished like I did in game 1. Okay, so my opponent is going the Emblem route, which is a fantastic way to win a game. I love doing that when I'm playing Black-Green X decks. If my opponent attacks with Gurmag, I'll just block with the Kitchen Finks, gain 2 more life, and then reset him on my turn. I don't really see that big of a difference between a 3-2 and a 4-3 Kitchen Finks at the moment. I never mind gaining a little bit more life against a Lightning Bolt deck. My game plan right now is put my opponent on a 2-turn clock and not worry about the giant ground force that they're laying in right now. I don't mind playing the Verdant Catacombs now just for extra Scooz mana in case my opponent has a trick. I don't mind being K-commanded on the upkeep because K-command doesn't do much against me at the moment. I have the Birds of Paradise I need to win. Sure. So my opponent had plenty of mana. One of the reasons I wanted the extra land was in case they, in response to me exiling it, they play another snap. Try to do tricks like that when I'm tapped low. Sure. Again, none of this matters unless my opponent has an answer to my Birds of Paradise. Fatal Push or Lightning Bolt would be really what they need. I am not going to activate Gavney Township yet, in case my opponent does have a Lightning Bolt in hand. That way I can do it in response to their Bolt. Looks like they have a push. Okay, they probably had a Dismember then, which they can't actually cast. So this is Abzan Company taking down Grixis Death Shadow in a friendly Modern League. You can see the deck a little bit more here. I only run 21 lands, which might be a bit greedy, so I'm trying to have a tough time figuring out when trophy drops. I think I might want to drop the 9th fetch land, which I chose as a Misty Rainforest, and try to get an extra forest in that. I chose Misty, one because I have it. I know it's a little bit more expensive than, say, a Wooded Foothills, but Misty Rainforest into a forest, into a Noble Hierarch, your opponent has no idea what you're on. You could be on Bant Spirits, you could be on Infect. It's much better than a Wooded Foothills into a forest, into a Noble, just to get a little bit of extra advantage, maybe game one. My deck itself, like I said, it's extra grindy. I cut 2 Duskwatch Recruiters, which does make comboing off a little bit harder game one, but there's so many different things for this deck to do with mana that I don't mind. I did add a second Viscera Seer to the stock list, which I've been absolutely loving. I think this match showed a pretty good picture of the power level of Viscera Seer. Viscera Seer plus Safi plus Renegade Rallier creates an infinite scry loop. There are decks that try to take advantage of that and run maybe an Anafenza or a Blood Artist to take advantage of all those enter the battlefield triggers. I just am fine with getting infinite scry. In paper, it's a lot cleaner. I need to get a little bit faster online here. But in paper, you just grab the loop. You can pick up your deck, cut to any point you want, and be on your way. Be onto a collected company that you know is going to hit something. Be onto a Cord, be onto a Kitchen Finks. Just a Kitchen Finks on top is absolutely fantastic at that point, because then you don't just have infinite scry, but you have infinite life, which is very difficult for a lot of modern decks to deal with. Other than Infect and Tron and Mill. But so I've been really happy with the Safi. I think it is a wonderful addition to the deck, just with those extra interactions, just as an extra way of protecting your Devoted Druids, or even your Viscera Seer, just being an extra card to protect your threats. Safi plus Eternal Witness is also pretty neat if you have a Viscera Seer in play. Not nearly as powerful as with Renegade Rallier, but still a neat interaction. A few cards I've been looking to get into the main. Second Voice of Resurgence. I really feel like once Trophy comes out, that card is going to be an all-star. I said before when I was brewing this deck, which has that Abzan Company shell, the Devoted Druid, Vizier, Walking Ballista, a couple Duskwatch with a Company and Cords. It's got that shell, but when I was brewing it, I wanted to have as many 2-for-1s in the deck as possible. A way to beat any deck running Assassin's Trophy is to either not care about Assassin's Trophy, or to have generated enough value from the creature they destroyed already that you don't really mind. Voice of Resurgence is one of those cards. If they want to Assassin's Trophy my Voice of Resurgence, fine. I get a land and I get an elemental token. If they want to trophy kill my Renegade Rallier, sure. I already bought back something, even if it was just a land. So I spent 3 mana and got 2 land, and they spent 2 mana and that was it. Viscera Seer also is pretty good there because it's able to just give me the choice. Do I want the free land or I want the scry? Kitchen Finks is also another guaranteed 2-for-1 with Assassin's Trophy. Unless they have a Scavenging Ooze in play, this reads: my opponent discards a card, I get a land and gain 2 life, and I put a -1/-1 counter on my Finks. Collected Company is obviously the best 2-for-1 I could think of. That's actually where I started. I started thinking, Renegade Rallier, Voice of Resurgence, Viscera Seer, I love that open. I actually thought about trimming some more of the combo, just to be able to go turn 1 Viscera Seer, turn 2 Voice, turn 3 sacrifice Voice, scry 1, play Renegade Rallier, buy back Voice, and then I could pass the turn having a Viscera Seer, a Voice, a token, and a Rallier in play, which is a really, really strong position turn 3 against any sort of fair deck. But I couldn't find room for that second Voice of Resurgence, and I started the deck with 3 Renegade Ralliers. I trimmed 1 to get that second Eternal Witness, because Eternal Witness is very, very good post board. I don't like it as much main board when all it's doing is basically being a bad Renegade Rallier. Renegade Rallier buys back a creature, puts it in play. Eternal Witness, if it buys back a creature, puts it in my hand, which can slow me down. Obviously, Eternal Witness has great synergy with Court of Calling and Collected Company, and that alone is worth running in the deck, and that's why I had that one, just so I had an extra out if my Walking Ballista was in the graveyard to get it back. Previously, without that singleton Eternal Witness, there was no way of me getting back a Walking Ballista. Renegade Rallier can get it back, but it dies before I can do anything. Where Eternal Witness shines is once I get my sideboard cards, buying back a Path, buying back an Abrupt Decay, buying back a Remorseful Cleric. I mean, Rallier does that too, but just buying back my removal spells, which I might desperately need, is really where I think Eternal Witness starts to shine. So this is my deck. It is similar. It's an Abzan Company shell, which is pre-boarded for interactive decks. The sideboard, you can see I even go bigger. So this deck can almost transform into like a green-white value town minus the land package, with 2 trackers and extra skews, another win condition with Shalai. Now, these Abrupt Decays will become trophies once trophy is available, and these paths, I think I'm going to run 4 removal spells. I can't decide how many trophies versus path I want. I'll have to figure that out. I think it might be 2-2, maybe 3-1 trophy to path. Qasali Pride Mage is absolutely going to be Knight of Autumn once I get that opportunity to play Knight of Autumn. I might even cut a couple more cards. I think Knight of Autumn is powerful enough to be a 3 to 4 of in this deck, depending upon the meta. Extra burn help, which is always wonderful to have. 4 Kitchen Finks is not enough to really win against burn. It's wonderful, don't get me wrong, especially with the way this is built. With Viscera Seer, Safi, and Kitchen Finks, you can kind of rebuy your Kitchen Finks to gain even more life if needed. Vizier obviously lets your Kitchen Finks keep living, but I'm not expecting Vizier Remedies to survive against burn too long. They're going to bolt that as soon as they can. Viscera Seer is kind of an odd one. Most burn players don't really care about killing it, because creatures go over and it doesn't gain me any life. But being able to sacrifice Kitchen Finks, buy it back with Safi, and then scry 3 to 4 while gaining 8 life is an absolutely wonderful ability. So this is the deck. Right now, let me see what... I'm currently 15 wins, 9 losses, and I have not played a friendly meta. I've played a lot of Lightning Bolt decks, a lot of Jeskai, a lot of Blue-Red Wizards, actually a lot of Blue-White Control. I've played Storm twice, and I'm somehow 2-0 against Storm. My losses have been to Tron, Hardened Scales, Hollow One, The Mirror, Burn, Elves, Blue-White Control, Mardu Pyromancer, and Humans, where I've beaten a lot of random decks with a lot of Lightning Bolts, Ponza, Temur Midrange, Burn, Storm Ascension, which actually ran Lightning Bolts, Eldrazi Stompy, Blue-Red Thing, a Red-White Taxes deck that, again, ran Lightning Bolts, and I've beaten Burn and Blue-Red Wizards and Jeskai as well. So it's not a friendly meta at the moment from what I've been seeing for this deck, but I anticipate some changes going forward. One of those potential changes I see in the meta once Trophy hits could just be a really grindy matchup. A lot of Jund, a lot of decks like that. I think this deck will be solid against that because Devoted Druid combo wins quick against Jund if they don't have it, and then I sideboard into a very, very grindy deck with Anafenza, Voice, Tracker, and Skews. So that's the deck, that's the video. I may record the rest of this league, depends upon my timing. Recording does take a little bit longer than not recording, so I hope you liked the video. I'll be posting it soon. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Thank you.